Hello and welcome to Wasted Plotential, where we discuss the wasted potential of our favourite plotlines. Long before Mortal Kombat X introduced successors to long-established MK characters, there were plans in place to introduce such characters as far back as MK4. Two new heroes were introduced in that game, Fujin and Kai. Fujin was one of the 4 elemental bosses the player defeated in MK mythologies, and was now one of 2 surviving Earthrealm gods. Kai was Liu Kang's protege in his attempts to revive the White Lotus after the massacre in MK2. With Raiden's ascension to the status of Elder God at the end of the game, he elected Fujin to take his place as Earthrealm's protector. This idea was used in both of their endings, solidifying it as canon. Kai meanwhile went off to do some soul searching, or searching for his soul as he confusingly put it, receiving Raiden's lightning staff to aid him in his journey. And then, in Deadly Alliance, Liu Kang was killed by the titular threat, raising the stakes and prompting his friends to unite and avenge his death. Only, Fujin and Kai were nowhere to be seen. Even Conquest Mode's recaps of the characters' stories made no mention of either, even when explaining Raiden's ascension to and return from Elder God status. Raiden even had his lightning staff back with no explanation. Deception later revealed that Kung Lao had sent Shujinko to retrieve the staff from Kai as the latter moved his wandering into Outworld, but then let Shujinko keep it, so who even knows? I get Fujin's absence, since for the series' big move into this new era, you want the iconic Raiden around. But with Liu Kang dead, isn't now the perfect time to bring back his protege to fill his shoes? Neither character would return until Armageddon, the original Everyone Is Here fighter, where Fujin's bio has no explanation for where he's been all this time. I've read that Fujin was supposed to be in Deception, hence Raiden's death in the intro, but that it was decided against and Dark Raiden was created instead. Even John Tobias's pitch for MK5 before he left the company ignored them in favour of Liu Kang's son. And there was so much that could be done with them here. For one, Kai debuted in a time when Kung Lao was believed dead. Liu Kang's best friend, supposedly, lost his life in MK3, and here's a protege to fill that void in his life. In a more fleshed out retelling of the story, our lead protagonist could get some more depth added by exploring his loneliness without his closest friend, and possibly having to come to terms with the fact that Kai is not Kung Lao and that it isn't fair to use him as a surrogate Lao. And then there's the subject of subsequent stories. I have 2 ideas for how they could have been brought back. First, imagine this was done in Deadly Alliance. Fujin is still Earthrealm's protector. Raiden relinquishes his Elder God status, but doesn't take back his old title. He's only here to help even the odds, not to take his old job back. Kai is brought back into the fold as well, receiving training from Bo Rai Cho to pick up where his dead mentor left off. They head to Outworld and, in at least one of their endings, work together to take down the 2 sorcerers, avenging Liu Kang and redeeming Fujin's failure to keep the monks safe on his watch. If Deception plays out the same, Fujin and Kai could be among the survivors like Bo and Sub-Zero, stewing in their failure and working with Bo to fend off Onaga's army in Outworld until Shujinko beats Onaga. And now Deception. If Fujin and Kai missed out on the previous game, it's because Fujin felt unworthy, having failed his mission, and requested that Raiden take his old position back. While Raiden led his group to Outworld, Fujin headed off to find Kai and let him know about the murder. The 2 then set off to Outworld to reinforce Raiden, possibly bringing along any other Earthrealmers who returned from pre-Deadly Alliance like Nightwolf. Unfortunately, they're too late and even Raiden has fallen. Unaware of the resurrections of the heroes, the 2 set out to end Onaga and avenge the fallen heroes, eventually reuniting with them once Onaga is dead. In either scenario, Kai and Fujin then gather the forces of light for Armageddon, taking charge in the absence of their respective mentors. And for the hell of it, let's imagine they had roles in the new timeline prior to Aftermath as well. No, the comic doesn't count because Fujin's barely in it. In MKX, Kai is part of Earth's defenders at the start as Raiden saw him in a vision and sought him out. He's been training under Bo Rai Cho for the last 2 years as Liu Kang is a revenant and thus can't do it himself. After Shinnok's first defeat, Kai and Fujin stick around. Kai becomes an accomplished Shaolin master over the next 2 decades and builds a strong bond with Kung Jin. Fujin meanwhile just helps Raiden with whatever needs doing, like preventing Onaga's return and Armageddon's commencement. Kai serves as Jin's mentor figure, possibly leading a group of monks to defend the Sky Temple, going down alongside Fujin and Bo to the Revenant, with Liu Kang beating Kai and Kung Lao beating Fujin as nods to their ties in the previous timeline. Side note, Kai was actually supposed to be in MKX, but his role supposedly went to Bo Rai Cho. And let this video stand as definitive proof that I don't think the Midway era was perfect, or that I never criticise it. Ignore the fucking idiots who claim otherwise. I have nothing to add here regarding Aftermath. Fujin's role in it was fine. Besides, there are much larger issues with Aftermath that must be addressed. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is Who is Kai? Abandoned Mortal Kombat Characters by the Fighter's Den. There's very little Kai content on YouTube and all of Fujin's are about Aftermath right now, so it's a struggle.